Hi and welcome to the video. We're going to do something a little bit different today, and we're going to build a Python project from scratch. And what I want to do is build a PlotLy chart and feed stock information into this chart from the AlphaVantage API, which is like very similar to the Yahoo Finance API as far as I'm aware. I haven't used either of them that much, to be honest. But they seem to have pretty good documentation, and it's a little bit different, and I just want to explore using this API rather than Yahoo Finance, which is like the sort of de facto standard almost. So after we give some stock information to this chart, we want to actually chart it and plot a few sort of interesting indicators. So I've you can see on the screen, I've gone for a few different indicators here that I haven't really seen any of these, for I'm not a finance person, so I don't claim to know what all of this means exactly. But obviously the simple moving average is, well, it's a moving average of the stock price over time, so that one is quite simple. And I just want to include that in there so that we can see that we're actually doing things right and we're plotting these indicators correctly. And then we have this thing called the Unbalanced Volume, which sort of measures positive and negative volume flow. So, the reason I'm including all these volume and balancing momentum-based indicators is, at the moment in the stock market, we have the big Wall Street's versus Wall Street's bets. And I want to sort of use this opportunity to just build sort of a cool project that at least gives a little bit of information on what is actually happening in terms of the actual stock market. Now, a lot of these are, traditional indicators. They've been around for a few years, so I don't know if they're actually going to be useful or not, because obviously the market conditions at the moment are not normal. But it'd be interesting to see. And then we have this balance of power, which is the market strength of buyers versus sellers. So again, pretty relevant. Rate of change, maybe we'll include this, I'm not sure. This one called Arun, which looks quite interesting actually. So if we go on here, and you can see that it essentially gives us this. So we get like a downtrend and uptrend indicator line. And whenever these cross over, that's typically when you see an uptrend or a downtrend. And I think that'd be quite interesting to see as well. And this is based on the time between highs and lows in a specific time period. So what you're doing here is measuring the lowest point, and that gives you your sort of the points, the edges, or the peaks and troughs of this indicator here. So I think that would be pretty interesting. And then we have this Chaikin oscillator. And I thought this would also be quite interesting because this is tracking the strength of price movements and the underlying buying and selling pressure to estimate demand. So that should also be pretty interesting. So let's go ahead and we're going to start coding this up. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is figure out how to use the AlphaVantage API. So basically all the data that we want, we can get from here. So the main part of that is going to be this time series intraday API. So we'll just go ahead and figure this out. Okay, so if we just take this, and let's figure out the format that data is actually going to come in with. Okay. So we have our interval, which we included here. Symbol, we're going to change that to GME. And then we have this time series, which is another dictionary, and inside here we have our open, high, low, close, and volume as well, which is interesting. So, okay, let's put all that together. So first, I do want to have the candlestick format. So I came up with this. So candlestick is this, whereas if we were just tracking the sort of average, it would look like this. So first we're just going to do this with PlotLy, and then we'll figure out how to build the sort of candlestick. So we're going to go ahead and try and build that. So for now, we're just going to use this data, and we'll get into a data frame. So import pandas, and just clean it up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to initialize the data frame first, and then we'll just loop through each of these entries. We'll have the date and time in one column, the open, high, low, close, and volume in other columns. And we'll just append each one of these as we sort of work through. So here we're just going to print out each of the date time keys, because here we need to actually access this in order to get into our actual values here. So just print this out. And then we need to also add this. There we go. So these 5-minute intervals, and this is what we're going to work with. Let's just make things a little bit easier to read. And all we're going to do here is append a dictionary, which is going to contain each one of these columns. Whenever we're doing this append method, we also need to add ignore index onto the end. Otherwise, we'll get a index error, which is really annoying, and it just happens every time. Usually I forget to add this in before seeing the error, but this time apparently not. Okay, so we also need to add in DT here, because at the moment we're trying to access the whole dictionary, the top level of it, whereas we need to access each date frame section of it. See, look, I remembered it this time and I still got it wrong. Okay, so now we have all of our data in a easier to read format. So I want to see why these are all the same. Maybe that's normal. Okay, so they're not all the same, they do change. So we are also looking at IBM, and IBM I don't think is a particularly volatile stock. Okay, so I'm going to switch this data over to GME. For that, I do have my key somewhere. Okay, so I have my key here now. It's just in a text file. So when you're reading from text files, like your keys, which is generally, I think, what you'll do a lot of the time when you're just developing something, or I mean, you could put it straight into your code. I wouldn't recommend, but I mean, it's up to you. So you just need to do with open, specified file, R for read, and just put key like this, and that should work. So now take this and let's swap for GME. An API key, I want to use what I have defined here. I'm going to put key in there, convert this into an F string. Okay, let's see. Okay, that worked. It's cool. And let's compare this. So these were hardly changing. I suppose they changed a little bit here between these, but actually within these are high and low. Within 5-minute intervals didn't really change much. And maybe it won't for GameStop either. Let's see. Oh, I need to refresh here. A little more movement. Interesting. Okay, so I haven't used PlotLy that much before, so let's just try and figure it out. I mean, for creating the candlestick graph, I'm not really sure how I'm going to go about that yet. See, I don't even have it installed on this instance. Oh, as well, before I did, so I got my API key. I didn't really explain how you can get one too. So all you need to do, I think it says on here. Look, so you just go to this page and you click claim your free API key. go on there, and or you just put whatever you're doing. So I suppose for me, software developer, maybe put student if you're learning. But either way, it doesn't really matter because you're going to get this free API key anyway. It's not, they give it to you straight away, I think, from what I can remember. So it's not really an issue there. So let's go back to PlotLy and let's just install that quickly. Yeah, it looks like just pip install PlotLy. And I think as well, because I haven't installed it in this environment, I'm going to have to install a load of Jupyter extensions as well to actually show the plot. But let's see if it works first. Okay, so let's get that data again. Don't need to see that again. Okay, so let's do that. Let's just go with the open for now. Okay, yeah, so you can see that it's not showing anything, and this is an issue with one of the PlotLy extensions. So we just need to install those. It's not difficult though, from what I remember. Yeah, this PlotLy extension. Yeah. So it's the Jupyter Lab extension. So that's checking what we have. Okay, so I need these two, Jupyter Lab extension of Jupyter Lab PlotLy and PlotLy widget. So let's go and install those two. I realize maybe this is too small for you to see, so these two are going to do. Although these are the uninstallable, we're going to install them. Okay, so then we need to install the other one as well. Then we might need to restart Jupyter, but let's see if it works. I'm also going to do this Jupyter Lab build as well, just in case I need it. I don't think I will, but let's try. Okay, so let's go back to our lab and let's just refresh and try. Let's see if it works. If not, we'll just restart. Yeah, okay, so let's just restart it quickly. Okay, let's try all this again. Here we go. So it's working now. So yeah, looks pretty cool. Although, what is this? We have, yeah, that's weird. Do we need to? Okay, let me check what these are. I assume these must be strings. They're not actual numbers. Yeah, so we need to convert these into numbers as well. Okay, so we can do that with the toNumeric function. And then just pass the columns that we want in there. I'm not sure if we can do all of them at once or if we have to do one at a time, but let's try it all. Okay, yeah, so just one at a time. So let's just take this list. I'm also not sure if it does it in place or not as well. Let's just have a quick look. Okay, so I think it does not do it in place. Let's see. Okay, so no, it doesn't. Right, there we go. So now it's a float. This should work now. There we go. So that looks pretty cool. We have this sort of interactive interactivity with the chart, which this is why I wanted to use PlotLy over like Matplotlib. I think this is definitely something we want to have in the chart. So we have that now. Before we do the candlesticks, let's just try putting on the a few of the indicators and see how that looks. And see if they're straightforward or not. So this simple moving average. So let's add that in. Okay, so let's just clean this API requesting up a little bit. Okay, so that is our API, and then we just want to change these. We'll just use it like this instead. Okay, so we have SMA, we want GME, weekly, interval. No, we want 5 minutes. Oh no, we don't. We want it's a moving average. So yeah, let's go weekly and see how that looks. Time period. This is like 10 days. What do we have here? We don't have a time period. So we do want to adjust that a little bit. So maybe we can, let me zoom in a little bit here. Probably can't see anything. So the function, interval. So yeah, we have a few. Let's go like a 60-minute, because then we can actually see that on the time period that we're already looking at. Number of data points. But okay, let's change this to a 60-minute moving average. So no, we don't want to change that one. We change this one. And add in the API key as well. Okay, let's just see what we get. Okay, cool. So we have this, okay, we have this technical analysis. Interval, okay. So we want to pulling data out of here. Okay, cool. So I wonder if you can add like multiple functions, I don't know. But let's stick with this. We're basically going to do the same thing again, where we take these. But this time we are getting our moving average. So technical analysis. Let's put this in. And all we want here is the date time and then this SMA value. So technical analysis, I think that's fine. So now we just change this to SMA. I think that should be okay. Let's see. Okay, let's put that in here so I don't do that again. Now I just overwrote all of that. I mean, I need to change this. Okay. Okay, that looks cool. So we will also need to do this again, right? Where we convert it to numeric. Let's just add SMA head here. Then let's plot this. And let's just see what we get. Okay, so we get a lot more data here. So we need to restrict that to only within what we have here. But at the same time, I think it would be cool if we got a little more data than what we have. But let's just keep it dynamic for now. So we just take the minimum date time that we have within DF, and then we'll just apply that to all of our technical indicators so that we're only pulling it from then onwards. We could probably get it from the API, but let's just filter the data frame. Yeah, because here I'm not sure they do actually give you like a date time limit that you can just extract from that point. So yeah, I think we need to do it from the data frame anyway. So after we do all of this, let's also get the min date time. That would just be df date time dot min. We also need to re-extract all of that because I overwrote it earlier. Okay, and then let's just check our date time. It should be something reasonable. So yeah, I think that makes sense. It's like 12 hours before? No, about 8 hours before this point. So that's fine. So 8 hours of data in there. So when we do this, all we need to do is just filter out anything that is below that date time. So all we do is SMA equals SMA, where the date time is greater than or equal to min dt. Okay. So let's just check. So we have the length of SMA here. So we've got 560 rows. And then if we do this, we filter it down to 9, which is more reasonable. So we have, I think we had around 8 hours in there. So 9 hours maybe. And we're taking it in 60-minute intervals. So that makes sense. And then if we do that, cool. So we get our SMA indicator here. So let's plot those both together and see how it looks. Okay, so apparently you need to also add fig, add scatter, and then you add mode lines onto the end to add another line. So maybe I need to do this. Okay, so line is supposed to be lines, I think. Okay, cool. So that looks good. We have our SMA and our actual plot. So that seems pretty straightforward. But now we actually want to maybe add candlesticks into this, because that would be pretty cool in my opinion. No idea how we can do that in PlotLy, so let's try and figure it out. It actually looks really simple. So need to use the graph objects instead of express. Let's try and add that then. So if it's really that easy, then this it's super easy. Oh wow. Okay, so that's our candlestick. That's really cool. I don't really know if we want this bit, but I suppose it's kind of cool. Let's just go with it for now. So we have that, and then we also want to add scatter again to add the SMA. Okay, that's pretty cool. So now we just want to add in a few of those other indicators. So what do we have? We have this unbalanced volume, balance of power, rate of change, a rune, and Chaikin. So let's do this unbalanced volume one first. I want to add in a couple of functions to actually do things as well. So like here, every time that we want to convert these to numeric, I think we want to convert anything that's just not called date time. So we can just add that as a function. So to numeric, and then just add our data frame. And then we just go for call in df.columns. We only want to do this if call is not equal to date time. So every other column we do want to convert to numeric. And just return that. Okay, so instead of needing to write it out every time, we just write to numeric when we have our data. So Okay. So here we're getting the time series data. And we also want to convert it to numeric here. You can leave it as df. Okay, and let's just test that, see how it is. Okay, looks good. So we can remove that. And then we are getting our SMA data. So let's just move that into one box as well. And this, we just want SMA and SMA. Okay. And let's move this up to the top as well. I want to add in a few more here. So we have, which one is it? It's the on balance, I think. Yeah, the unbalanced volume. Let's do that one. And we're probably going to do something similar here again, right? So let's go to our documentation and let's get the on balance OBV. So we have this. So just paste that there. Do something pretty similar again. So we have the API key, which is going to be our key. The interval. Should probably check what that actually means for this. So this one's probably the one that I was most interested in seeing. It's like it measures the positive and negative flow with the intention of identifying where you've got a load of sort of big investors putting a lot of money into it. Or sorry, when you've got a lot of smaller investors putting a lot of money into it. So basically the volume is higher because obviously the retail investors are putting a lot more bets on, but they're smaller. They're smaller buys or sells. So that I imagine would be how this works. Although I've just read this very briefly before, so it could be completely wrong. But it sounds pretty interesting from reading this. So let's just try and implement it. I'm going to go with a shorter time period than what it's suggesting here. Because I don't know if we will see anything with that. Or the shorter interval, sorry. And then GME. Okay, so let's put this in. No need to see what we actually get here. Okay, so we have this technical analysis, and it's basically the same as before when we had the SMA. So we could probably write a function that does that for us, but let's just do it like this for now. So we just change this to ABV. It's a pretty easy change. Okay, so let's try that. I think this one should be pretty interesting to see. And I don't know, to be honest, we're going to need to put these on another chart because obviously that isn't going to work. I wonder, I imagine there isn't an easy way of doing it, but let's just check quickly. Yeah. Okay. So we should probably have a look at how people normally do this. Okay, and let's try and stick with the graph objects. So I don't know if this is going to go as, yeah, this just goes as express, so. Okay, so we're actually just going to use a scatter. Okay, cool. So we run something like this. We go scatter. And then we add X and Y. Okay, so we just swapped out ABV. Okay, cool. So we have this. It's interesting. So this is our unbalanced value. Is that right? Unbalanced volume, sorry. So I wonder if this would make more sense because it's volume to have it as a bar chart at the bottom, because I think that's how these things usually work. Yeah, that would be interesting, I think. Okay, so we have subplots here. We have space very similar to, okay, perfect. So that looks kind of good. But we want stacked, so I mean, it's just the same as far as I know. Yeah. The only thing that they're not doing here is matching on the x-axis. But again, that shouldn't really be an issue for us because we do actually have already matched on the x-axis. So let's give that a go. So we want subplots, make, and we append trace this time instead. So this time we're going to append trace. I don't know if we can add scatter. Okay, no, so we need to, yeah, I don't know if we should have really been doing that anyway, because it needs to be more like this. And then I suppose we can add mode here, or maybe not. Let's not for now. Let's just append trace. And then we do that for SMA as well. Let's see how that goes. Just want 2 rows. And we've already imported this. So let's, okay, so we have data, Y. Okay. Oh, and we also need to specify the row in the column as well. Okay, so this is gonna be row, Sean, this one can be row 2. This one here will be row 1, col 1. And we just need to remove the data part that we added in here. So I suppose, yeah. So it's append trace. And we just remove that. Okay. So yeah, it's pretty messy. What? Okay, so it's because we have this. So I kind of want to just get rid of that for now. So I don't know what it is, like an x-axis slider maybe. Okay, so this is kind of what we need, I think. Yeah. So I just need to update the layout. And just make this false. And I think let's put this up to here. Type date. Okay, this should work. Let's see. Okay, cool. So now we have this. But what is it most useful? Like, how do you normally, let's have a look at how this unbalanced volume is normally plotted. Okay. So this is the unbalanced volume here. So it's just like another line chart underneath the other line chart. So it's basically what we have already. This is interesting. So here it's like a confirming trade when they're both in the same direction. Okay, so this is what we want to look at here. When the price and OBV are making higher peaks and higher troughs, upward trend is likely to continue. So when they're both going up, when they're making lower and lower, there's a downward trend. If the OBV is rising, accumulation may be taking place. So if we have a look at this, so you can see they're both going down. So that's like, okay, the downward trend is likely to continue. And here they're both going up. So upward trend is likely to continue. And then they're just leveling out here. So it's not really anything of interest. But I suppose here it's kind of balanced. And we see the momentum sort of pushing up again just before it rises. So maybe that is what we're sort of looking for. Either way, it's pretty interesting to actually look at. And then I also want to probably have a look at this Chaikin oscillator as well. So it looks pretty interesting, I think. So if we go back into the API documentation, so I think it's this one. Yeah. So it's the Chaikin AD line. Okay, so when this is measuring big investors, I think. So when you're looking for where the big investors are putting their money, this is supposed to be an indicator of it, as far as I understand. So it examines the strength of price moves and the underlying buying and selling pressure to try and measure the demand. And then divergence between the price and the oscillator is indicated as the most frequent signal and flags a short-term reversal in price. So that'd be interesting to see if we can maybe find that happening around here or around here. So let's figure that one out as well. So, so this time we're just replacing the function with AD interval. This one's doing daily, so maybe this is the sort of thing we want to be looking at more frequently. So you have the key, GME, and I think that's pretty much what we want. Let's put this down to, let's go 60 minutes again. And then we can maybe change that. Okay, so let's see what we get. So it's just check in AD. Okay, cool. So let's pull that through. So I'm going to use this code again. So replace this. I'm just going to call it AD. Or let's call it chat. Check in AD. Okay. And what was it? Just checking AD, right? Yeah. So that's all we want. Let's replace this with checking AD again. And add chat down here as well. Okay. So I think, so this bit we need, what do we want this bit to be? So just checking AD. Okay. So we've got two numeric, so that all looks pretty good to me. Let's add that in. So obviously that's going to need another row. So let's just add that in. Chad. And we'll put this at the bottom. We need to add another row here. Let's see how that looks. So, okay, cool. Doesn't look bad. It's interesting. So the point was that when they diverge, it's an indication of a sort of a movement change. And that indicates a reversal in price. So I don't know, I suppose here's like the only bit where it kind of doesn't follow the price because the price is pretty level. In fact, it's even going down here, right? And here it starts to go up. So maybe that's indicating the reversal in price change. But it's also kind of difficult because we're only looking at our time here. So we should probably increase the how much we're reviewing. So let's just go to like 10 minutes and see how that looks. Okay, I bet we can't do that. Yeah, it's not returning anything. It's probably the interval. Oh, you see. Okay, so we need 15 minutes. Let's just go 5. See what it's like. Okay, so that's more interesting. So now we just see like this big movement up here. But then I bet if we look at it long term, it's probably pretty stable. So let's try and increase how much data we're actually looking at. So the interval, okay, so what's our min dt? Okay, so this is returning. Okay, so this is actually returning Friday. So I was wrong earlier when I said this is Saturday's data, which is kind of stupid. But does this actually return us anything more than what we have here? Okay, cool. So we actually want this full rather than compact. So output size is going to be full. So that should give us a lot more data. So before we were heading at 11 on the 29th. Let's see what we have now. Okay, that's way further back. So that's cool. We probably, I don't know if we'll be able to even see that much though. So maybe it's worth maybe not doing a 5-minute intervals, but going like daily. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, of course that changes this as well. So let's change it here. Hopefully that should work. Okay, no. So let's check what we are returning. Okay, so because we are doing the intraday, we can only go 60 minutes. So let's change that to 60 minutes. Okay. Oh, and that goes even further back. I wasn't expecting that. That's pretty good though. It's a lot of data. So now I'm thinking, what do we want here? Maybe daily? What do we want daily? Let's go weekly for now. And these maybe we can go daily. So let's just have a look at these, how they are now. So here's obviously the volume. It's pushing up loads and everyone's buying into it. But you can see there's this massive increase here. This is back in at the start of January. Didn't mean to do that. So start of January. And yeah, it was going up, but not loads. You can just see it kind of pushing up, pushing up. And then here you have, same again, it starts to go a little bit crazy. So here, it went over zero, went greater than 0. And this is January 22nd, so here. This is before it all went crazy. So I think it kind of went down here and then back up. I'm going to see. It's pretty interesting. So, I mean, I think that's it for this video for now. It's probably, I mean, obviously there's a lot we could do like tidying up, but just in getting a few indicators together and the actual stock data in Candlesticks, I mean, it's pretty easy. I mean, I've never done most of this before with PlotLy, and it's super easy to figure out, so that's pretty good. So I suppose that's it. So I mean, thank you for watching the video. I'll leave all of this code on GitHub as well. I'll add a link in the description if it helps. I mean, it's not too much anyway, but might help you pull things together a bit quicker. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you again next time. Bye.